Hey guys, welcome to Fantasy Effect episode 79. We got some must starts for you. It's just Holler and I tonight. McSpanky is finishing up some soccer, I believe. How's it going tonight, Holler?
It's going. Bear with us, everybody. The brains of the operation is out, so we may get a little crazy tonight, but I think we can hold it down.
We have the second biggest brain on the buttons today, that's for sure. Okay,
yep.
That draft is done.
I am stoked. We are 1 day away from live football, baby.
Oh, dude,
NFL
I can't
football.
wait. I've been thinking about it all day, honestly. Like I'm so excited. Like we get the Chiefs Ravens. What a way to kick off the season.
Yep.
And then we even get another island game on Friday, so we don't have to wait till Sunday. Even though it is the Packers, I'll be excited to watch either way.
Heck yeah. And then Saturday
on Friday.
We have Texas, Michigan.
Yes.
It's going to be a really good weekend. I'm stoked. Michigan looked terrible. Just for any Michigan fans, I'm sorry, but they look terrible. We'll see. They played Fresno State, and it was close till the end. But we'll see. It'll be a good weekend.
That pick six did wonders for them.
Totally.
Okay, should we pop into the news here?
Yes, sir. We got lots.
Okay. Ricky Pearsall was shot. If you guys haven't heard, he took a through and through to the chest. He missed all his vital organs. And he walked out of the hospital the next day. Then was in the weight room. I don't know that he was lifting any weights or anything, but he was there in person.
Crazy.
In other dude, like that was, I did not expect to see that news this weekend at all. It was just so wild, especially after Ayuk signed the deal. I thought maybe like if Ayuk hadn't signed the deal, like a hit job or something, we'll make sure that we get Ayuk paid. I'm just kidding. I don't think it's that deep, but
I think the biggest thing is just kind of he's very lucky where it was hit. Didn't hit anything. So good for him. I don't really think this changes much, in my opinion. I don't think he was going to really do much, in my opinion. I don't really think it drops his value. I don't know. I've seen other people try to get out from Ricky Pearsall for like a second. I think somebody else I saw was like 2/3. For me, he's just a hold right now. I just felt like the whole season it was going to be kind of a redshirt season for him anyway. Yeah. Because I think they're going to move off of probably Debo next year. So I think he's going to slide in for like into the Debo spot. Not saying that like the same type of player. I just think he's going to kind of slide in. And they took Pearsall in the first, right? So I don't think they're just going to – I know they messed up with Trey Lance, but to me, I don't know. I think this was always kind of part of the plan for him to be a red shirt kind of guy for this year.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime I took him, I looked at it as really a year two play. We're going to sit and wait and see. Had Ayuk been traded, I think we would have really, gotten to see Ricky in his first year. That did not happen, but I'm with you. There's still an out in the Debo contract. They did restructure some money for Debo, so I think it makes it a little bit tougher, but we saw Russell Wilson get, cut and moved. So it is possible. We'll see what happens with the season when we get to
for me.
I did. Oh, go ahead, Holler.
Like for me, if you are questioning like if he's going to be anything or not, I would move off of him. I don't think. But the problem is right now you're going to lose on your value for him, right? Most people took him maybe late first, early second. You're going to lose on that. I mean, maybe you'll get a second for him, but in my opinion, you're going to lose on that, not value. So I would just sit on it for now.
I tried to acquire some Ricky while, when the news happened and everything, and I actually did get one share of him. It's a pretty bad tank job of mine, so this was kind of a shed some points and, get a guy that's not going to score any points this year. I traded Brandon Cooks and Malachi Corley for Ricky Pearsall.
Cool. Yeah,
so that's pretty good about that one.
Yeah, Wes is just saying, so try to buy low. Yeah, totally. If you are still in on Ricky Pearsall, if you liked his profile and everything like that, go out and buy him, especially if you are like wanting to shed points. And I don't think he's going to score many points this year. So I think he's a great guy to go out and get for like you just did around like for me, like moving Brandon Cooks and Malachi Corley. I like Malachi Corley, but I'd rather have Pearsall than Corley in the long, like in the in the long run. So.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree there. We also had Trent Williams. He signed his deal, so that's good news for Brock Purdy. The numbers are pretty staggering without him. CeeDee Lamb signs his deal. We are still waiting on Jamar Chase to sign a deal. We got Blake Corum returning kicks.
Crazy.
In the words of Sean McVay, we just got to get the ball into our best players' hands.
Yeah, I mean, I think Spanky brought it up in the Discord, but I think it was kind of crazy that there was everybody's up in arms that they saw Kyren Williams is going to return punts. But it's the same to me. It's the same exact thing with Corum returning kicks. Kyren's going to return punts. I think this year, like returning, not necessarily punts, but returning kicks is going to be a lot different this year. I think a lot of the better players are going to be running the ball back on kick returns. So to me, I don't really think this is a big deal. I think in Sean McVay's mind, they were going to use both of these running backs for the whole year in a bunch of different ways. So I was not surprised when I saw that.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I've heard people comp the new kickoff return to almost like a running play. So it makes sense to have a running back there that can read that out instead of just the fastest guy on the field. Let's get him back there and get the ball in his hands, kind of thing. We have Jonnu Smith listed as a fullback on the Miami depth chart. That was a bit shocking / jarring / I had, kind of at the end of the season, I was like, are we not talking about Jonnu Smith? Like, I know he hasn't really done anything in his career, but I mean, he's in Miami. He's, got a really good athletic profile. He's a fast tight end. So, just more speed onto that Miami offense. And I feel like he could be somewhat useful, especially, if you're in your best ball formats or just, a deep league where you got guys. I have some guys sitting on rosters that don't even have teams. I try to clear them out, but with all the cut downs that happen, there's some guys that are still floating around out there that you could probably get off your roster, and Jonnu might be on the waivers.
Yeah, so I'll talk about it a little bit later. I have another tight end that I like for the season that's deeper. So we need tight end two tight end leagues. Jonnu Smith, I think, is, in my opinion, going to be useful. They're going to get him the ball a bit. I know he's probably pretty far down in the options there in Miami. But me, I think with him putting him at the fullback I think they're going to use him in a few different ways that we didn't really think about. So for me, I think he's going to be useful. Could be a big body in the red zone, so that's good for Tua. So we'll see. I mean, they have so many home run hitters there that I don't know how often they will be in the red zone. But for me, they have a lot of home run hitters there, so they're I think of Miami is not as much going to be in the red zone as a lot of the other teams, right? And so, but for me, he should be useful. So I think that's good for him to be listed as the fullback versus the tight end 1 or 2, even in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you mentioned in start 2 tight end leagues, really, if you faded the position, you're just hoping your second tight end, or even first tight end falls into the end zone. So and that's really all I could expect from Jonnu is he falls into the end zone a couple times, and we're kind of surprised, that kind of deal. In other news, the true tight end, Hog Daddy, Hunter Henry, full practice this week. So wheels up for that late round stash.
Yes, sir.
The touchdown machine himself.
The fantasy effect team loves the Hog Daddy.
Yes.
In my opinion, he's going to be the number 1 option in that offense outside of Andre Stevenson. So to me, I think he's going to get a lot of the touchdowns. So should be nice. I mean, again, we're talking about Jonnu Smith. We're talking about Hunter Henry. These guys are outside of the top 6 to 8 tight ends. Really, it's a crapshoot after that. And so, in my opinion, you're looking for guys that are going to get the ball and going to get the touchdowns. That's going to separate the tight ends from the other guys, because most tight ends outside of our top guys don't get very many yards anyway. I think, but in my opinion, I think Hunter Henry could be a top 12 tight end for the season because of his touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm definitely there with you. Okay, should we get into these starts of the week?
Yeah, so what we're going to do here is going to go through some of our week 1 must starts for the week. And then we're going to talk about, we both pick some guys that we think are actually going to be season-long guys that you can maybe go out and buy. And so there's a couple guys that I put on there that I think if you're a contending team, you should go out and buy them because I think they're going to help your team. And I really do think they're going to have big seasons. Ron, go ahead and kick us off with one of your wide receivers.
Okay, so my first guy is T. Higgins. He's playing in that contract year. And also, especially for this week, Chase hasn't been practicing up
Yep.
until today, basically. He did like one other practice. So I just think there might be some slow goings for Chase just through week one. I mean, he's still Jamar Chase. I wouldn't be shocked to see him walk out there and, be the lead target getter and, have a couple touchdowns. They're playing the New England Patriots. But also, I think T. Higgins also has that opportunity in front of him just from being in camp the entire time. He's in shape. They're not going to limit his snaps or anything like that this week, anything we could possibly see with Chase. And also, I kind of want to preface my my starts of the week. Mine are all pretty obvious guys that you're going to start in your lineups this week because it's week one. We still don't have, there's no injuries that have happened. There's no surprise guys out there. So it's really hard to, go out here and, dig real deep and find some guys like, man, we should really get him. Like, I would love to put like Chase Brown on here, but like, we just don't know at this point in time. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. So real quick with I pulled up some T. Higgins trades. There's one here that I think is crazy. T. Higgins for Will Shipley and Jameson Williams. That one's crazy to me. Here's another one. T. Higgins, a 25 second, 25 third for Deontay Johnson, and a 25 first. What do you think about that one?
Man, I might lean the first side, honestly, depending on where that second lands. Like if the second and first are close to each other, it's kind of I'll take Higgins. But if that's going to be a late second, I think I would take the Deontay side because that volume should just be so huge for Deontay, and you should be able to count on that.
Yep, I picked that one. Even though like I feel T. Higgins is going to have a really good season, that one there I picked because to me Deontay Johnson is going to get a ton of volume this year, and so he is one guy that I think should be really good. One more real quick. T. Higgins and Najee Harris for a 25 first and 25 second. It's kind of cool here on Dynasty Daddy. It looks like Jeremy added in like where the pick should be. I missed it on the T. Higgins for Deontay Johnson when it was both mid second, mid third for a mid first. It looks like they're all just saying mid. So I don't really think it's dialed in just yet. But yeah, so these are for both mid first and a mid second for T. Higgins and Najee Harris. Where are you at there?
Mid second and mid first for T. Higgins and Najee Harris. I think I am fine with that. A little less fine after watching the college slate of games and seeing those wide receivers and running backs just go bananas has me a little bit more excited for those 25 picks. But I think T. Higgins is a fine player, and really his situation could improve next year from a volume standpoint for himself if he does not stay in Cincinnati. The teams are always looking for a wide receiver one, so it's possible that it could get better for him.
Yeah, and then one more was just T. Higgins for a mid for 25 or 26 first, right? So for me, I mean, if these mids are like, obviously we have no idea where they're going to be, and but if you feel like your team is contending for all three of these, like outside of the Deontay one, T. Higgins and Najee Harris, I'm taking the players if I'm feeling my team is going to be in the playoffs. So I think for me, it really just kind of depends on where you feel like your team is going, and I think after this first week, it takes more than a couple weeks, but I think after this first week, it will be that will be the first tell is like, oh, I feel like I'm starting to think my team should be definitely in the playoffs or maybe kind of teetering on the opposite, right? Even with 1 week, I feel like some of us can feel that way. So
yeah, some teams I feel that way before the season even starts. I started going through, after I was setting lineups, and I'm like, I thought this was a contender, but man, the more and more I stare at this thing.
Yeah, I have plenty of those. So you got to be honest with yourself, right? And you want to try to move guys before they start to fade or before they start to, if some of them like boom and you're able to buy, like get good return on them, then yeah, totally move off of them if you are like not contending. So speaking of, one of my guys here is Matthew Stafford. Revenge game. I think this game is going to be really, really good. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout, right? I do think the Lions have a good defense, but I just think the Lions and the Rams play each other really close, and I think there's going to be a lot of offense. So one stat I found was that the Lions last year gave up the sixth most points to QBs. And so I was looking at the over under. It's at 51 points. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of points scored, right? So put in all your Lions, all your Rams this week, and feel confident with starting them. And so this leads to, like, I think you should go out and buy Stafford, right? I think the Rams are going to have a really good offensive season for a couple reasons. I think that their defense is very young, so it should be pretty subject, a lot of up and down. And I was noticing, like, they're playing, like, obviously they're in the NFC West, right? And the 49ers are really good. The Cardinals are a lot better, and so I think a lot of those teams, there's going to be a lot of points scored. And so with their defense not being very good, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. And so I think Stafford is going to be easily, like, throughout the whole season, a top 12 QB, right? So if you are a contending team and you want to shore up that your second QB, maybe you have a Drake May, maybe you have even like a Trevor Lawrence, right? Maybe you have a Trevor Lawrence and you're like, I want somebody that I feel more comfortable with it week in, week out. I think you can go out and buy Matthew Stafford. So his trade, like, I pulled up trades on Dynasty Daddy, and they're kind of all over the place. So I'll just run through a couple of them real quick. Stafford for Diggs straight up. Which side are you on?
Stafford.
Yeah, same here, easily. Stafford for a late 25 first.
I'm going to take Stafford.
Yep, same here, right? So again, I'm with you. I love this, like, 25 class. A lot of people were like, "Oh, the QBs are going to suck." We already saw this first week, and, like, they're starting to come into their own, right? I think this whole class is going to be really good, especially with how many running backs there are. And then two more I had here that I thought were pretty good is Stafford and Trey McBride for Justin Herbert.
I really love me some Herbert.
Yep.
I think his value is a little bit more depressed than it should be at this time, but man, Trey McBride is a stud, and Stafford. I need more team context on that one to pull the trigger on that. Like, if Herbert was, like, somehow this guy's quarterback 3, dude, for sure, done. Even as your quarterback 2, I'm pretty enticed, but.
Yeah, so say this was a startup, right? In my opinion, I've seen Herbert fall down a little bit in some of my startups over the season, right?
Yeah.
Or over the summer. And if Herbert is your QB2, because a lot of times he was going the back end of the second, beginning of the third, I've noticed. And so if he was your QB2, right, maybe I make this trade and I want to shore up my tight end spot. And I don't think, in my opinion, this year, the points per game difference between Stafford and Herbert is going to be that crazy. Right. I think there's a much more upside with Justin Herbert than there is Matthew Stafford. We know exactly what we're going to get week in, week out from Stafford, 20 to 25 points. Herbert's going to probably have some of those boom games, but we don't know for sure. Right. I know that the Chargers like to run the ball a ton. So I think, it might be a little bit of growing pains with Justin Herbert and Harbaugh. So for me, I'm firmly on Stafford and Trey McBride. And then I had one more that I thought was just a smash on the Stafford side. I don't know how it went through, but Stafford and Sion Vaki for Jalen Wright and the 25 second. To me, that one's super easy, Stafford. So if you can get something like that done, smash with Stafford. If you can send a second for Stafford, smash Stafford. But even if you're feeling like your team is really, really good, really, like you feel like you go to Dynasty Daddy and you're a contender, and you want to shore up that QB3, send your first away, right? I think that because Stafford's he's not retiring after this season. So for me, I think Stafford's a buy right now, and I think he's going to be really, really good this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that, especially with that defense, man. He's gonna have to score some points, that's for sure.
It's crazy. I've seen so many I've seen some people are predicting the win loss, everything like that. I've seen anywhere from like 12-6 for the Rams, or excuse me, 12-5 for the Rams, all the way to like 9-8. Like it's all over the place where people are expecting the Rams to be. And so to me, I think they're going to, they should be a playoff team, a wild card playoff team. And so, I think, but overall, I think this Rams offense should be really, really good for fantasy.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I agree there. My second guy here is none other than the McLaurin, Terry McLaurin, F1. He's pretty much got like zero target competition as of right now. We don't know what Luke McCaffrey is going to be. I know I talked about Noah Brown in my short. We don't know what he's going to become there. It's like Olamide Zaccheaus, De'Ami Brown. Like the ball is going to go to Terry early and often for sure in that offense. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers also traded away Carlton Davis to the Lions as one of their starting corners from last year. Their corners that are on the team right now ranked out as the 95th corner. That's Jamel Dean from PFF, and Zion McCollum graded out as the cornerback 187 per PFF, and they're going to be starting a rookie in the nickel position for this week 1. So I just think it's wheels up, man. And I mean, the game script should favor Terry too, because I don't think the Commanders defense is all that great right now. Man, that's like 4 years ago. The Redskins, geez Louise. But yeah, I think it's going to be a high scoring, affair in that game. We're excited about Jaden Daniels. We saw him just chucking bombs to neighbors and Brian Thomas in college, and I expect that to continue with Terry out there.
Yep. I like this a lot. And I picked Chris Godwin for mine, wide receiver for the week. And I just think this game could sneakily be a high-end scoring game because I think both defenses are not very good. And so I pulled some numbers as well. And so I think the Commanders last year, their pass defense was terrible, and they gave up the second most fantasy points to receivers. So I just think this week for Chris Godwin, he's going to eat, right? We heard it over the summer that they want to get him back in the slot. I know that they lost Canales, but I just think I think Chris Godwin's going to get back into the slot for the majority of the games, and I think he's going to be more of what we've seen before last season. Not to say that Evans cannot also have a really good season, but I think this weekend Godwin is going to really be like a back end wide receiver 2. And so I just feel really, really good if I have to put Godwin in my lineup. So let's go through some trades for Scary Terry. I think he could be a good, like for the whole season, I think he could be like a really, really good flex play. One here that I saw that is on Dynasty Daddy, Terry McLaurin for Keon Coleman straight up. Easy McLaurin for me.
Terry. Yeah.
Yep. A second and a fourth for Terry McLaurin.
Terry.
Yep. So this one a little bit more kind of up in the air. A 25 first, a 26 third for Blake Corum and Terry McLaurin.
That's tough.
Yeah. Definitely need to.
I need to see that. I need to see that team. If he's like some mega depth for you, I think I love it.
If you're shirting up, like if you have like maybe Terry McLaurin's on your bench and you're like deciding between McLaurin and another wide receiver, maybe I'll do it. But it's hard for me to give up a first for McLaurin and Blake Corum that we don't exactly know what he's going to be for the whole season, and then McLaurin is like wide receiver 3 area right now in my opinion. So it's tough giving a first for that. Let's see here. Devon Achane, Calvin Ridley for Terry McLaurin and Travis Etienne.
I think I'm gonna stick with Achane.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm with you too. I have seen I've read some good things about Etienne. Possibly being a top 5 running back. But to me, I got to see it first. Like he was really, really good last year in the end, down the stretch. But for me, I think there's some upside with Ridley, and I think Ridley and McLaurin could be pretty close in points per game. So I'm going to take the best asset here with Achane. Real quick, one more. Alvin Kamara for Terry McLaurin in a second.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Alvin Kamara for Terry McLaurin and a 26 second.
Ooh, that really that's again another team context one. If I'm stacked at wide receiver and he's having a hard time getting into my lineup and I need running back help, I would lean McLaurin. But if I need the wide receiver help, or I'm sorry, I would lean Kamara. If I need the wide receiver help, I'd take the Terry side. That one could go either way for me.
I feel like I really like Kamara this year, but I like him more for redraft than Dynasty. So I think I feel more comfortable with McLaurin than Kamara.
Sure.
I think, cop out answers. I really think it kind of depends on the roster. So, all right, some Godwin trade here. Yeah, totally. So this one I found very interesting. Chris Godwin for Jordan Addison straight up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, I'm not totally shocked with the situation that Jordan Addison finds himself in right now. I'm nervous for what his prospects are for the year with Sam Darnold. Like, we know Justin Jefferson is going to get his, and I mean, it's so tough. We love Kevin O'Connell in that offense. I'm just not. Yeah. I liked Jordan Addison as a player, but like the landing spot, the quarterback situation right now, like I think I'm like leaning a little bit towards Godwin, but I'd have a tough time, hitting accept on that. Yeah. It's still, all the same.
Yeah, no, totally. The Godwin Addison trade is a bit crazy, but I think looking at everything, it's not as crazy as as it seems, right? Chris Godwin's, I just looked it up, is 29 years old. It's older for wide receiver, but not really. So if there was anything with Godwin, I would take Godwin easily. But I think for me, I feel more comfortable keeping on, Jordan Addison. So, I'm leaning towards Addison there, but for me, it's tough. That one's tough. I think, if somebody was more in on Godwin, I could see it, but so that one could go either way. Chris Godwin and a 25 mid second for a 25 mid first.
I think I'm going to stay with the first. I only want to acquire Godwin on like heavy competitive, like late first, early second type stuff. But even the late first gets kind of dicey at this point for Godwin.
Yep, totally. And I know, like, if this person's trading away, I'm just going to assume if this person's trading away their first, that second's going to be late, right? And so I don't think that's enough for me to move off of that first. This one, though, I think pretty easily Chris Godwin for me. Chris Godwin for Ramondre Stevenson and a 25 fourth.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think Ramondre is in trouble in New England this year. The volume could be great, but it could be like just a whole lot of just huffing and puffing in there, man. I think that New England's going to struggle big time.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then this one, I liked a lot. I could see it going both ways. So Chris Godwin and Evan Ingram for Cade Otton and Chris Olave.
I can't trade Olave away for that.
For that, right?
Yeah,
that's where I'm at too. I did a double take though, because where a lot of people are worried about Olave because he's tied to Derek Carr. And it just, for me, I just can't give away that top end asset for
right.
I like Chris Godwin, right? But I felt like some of these trades were like just trying to get out a little bit too early, and so for the first, or like Chris Olave and maybe even a little bit Jordan Addison, like I don't know, but at the end of the day, we don't entirely know what Jordan Addison's going to be. He had so many touchdowns last year that I think is what's bringing his numbers up, and so we'll see if they can, if JJ McCarthy can be a really good quarterback, then I think Addison will be just fine, but we don't know for sure, right? And so, but yeah, that one I can't move off of Chris Olave there, even though we're a little bit worried with him and everything. I can't move away from Olave to Godwin. That's too big of a teardrop for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm trying to find the Derek Carr contract because, situations can change fast. There is a potential out in that contract. He is signed for 2026.
And there's a ton of there's a ton of hype for Spencer Rattler, right? I don't know if it's just mainly inside of in New Orleans, which is fine, but I think out after this year they're going to go away from Derek Carr, and whoever they bring in will be better than that. And so I don't want to move off of Olave for that and miss the boat there.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints could find themselves near the bottom and fall into an early draft spot, and all of a sudden we're very excited about a rookie quarterback landing with Chris Olave.
Yep, totally.
In New Orleans, that is for sure.
Totally. All right, give us your boys.
All right, it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery.
Yep.
In the past year, Aaron Donald has retired for the Rams. They just traded away their leading tackler from last season. They're starting 2 rookie defensive linemen this week, which, those guys could be really good players, by the end of it. But I think it's a very tall task to go against the second highest graded offensive line per PFF in run blocking. That's a very tall task. Sunday night, it's going to be loud and raucous in Ford Field, that's for sure. And I just think it's wheels up for these two this week. The Lions love to run the ball. And I mean, when Aaron Donald was there, they were succeeding running the ball. When Ernest Jones was there, they were succeeding running the ball last year. And I expect it to continue. That's how the Lions, eat, is on the ground.
Yep. Agreed. Pretty easy for me there. I feel really good about putting Gibbs and Monty in, even with the Gibbs, coming off a bit of an injury. I
totally healthy. He's off the injury report.
Yeah, I think he's totally healthy, and I think, like I talked about with Stafford, and I will with my next guy here, is I think it's going to be a very, very high scoring game, and I think Gibbs is going to get in the end zone. I think Monty will get in the end zone, and so I think it will be very, very good for those two guys to be in your lineup. Easy ones there. So for me, another one in the same game, Colby Parkinson. I know there's been a lot of talk about Colby Parkinson this offseason with tight ends. Will he be really good? Will he not? I went to Rams training camp, and it was before they put pads on and everything. But what I noticed is he was used a ton. Stafford loves to throw the ball to his tight ends, right? We heard maybe Davis Allen would be in there. There's one other guy I can't think of it off the top of my head. But it's clearly Colby Parkinson. He was solid in Seattle. He's really, really good in blocking, right? And so for me this weekend, I think the Lions are going to try to shut down Puka. They're going to try to shut down Kupp. For me, I think the Parkinson is going to benefit that. I think Kyren Williams has a great game, and I think even Blake Corum is going to have a good game. But Parkinson for me, I think through the season could be a sneaky tight end, like top 12, right around 10 through 12 is where I think he could be, just because Stafford loves to throw the ball to tight ends, and everybody knows the ball they want to give the ball to their main 2 guys, Kupp and Puka. But I think Parkinson's going to be open there, and I think for me he's going to get you some good points throughout the season. So for me, put him in your lineup this week. If there's if you need him in a flex, I have a couple spots where I was like, oh, cool, I have Parkinson on my team. I'm going to throw him in a flex, and I feel really good about it versus like a low end, like a low end wide receiver, And so I personally don't think Higbee is worth stashing at this point. Wes, I know you might, right? But I just think I think Parkinson's the better tight end than Higbee. I know he was good when he was not injured, but to me, they went out and paid Parkinson. They know, to me, I know the Rams know what they're doing. Trading away Ernest Jones, they didn't want to pay him. It's tough to trade him away. When I was listening to the radio, everyone was kind of like, why are they doing this? But to me, they did it for a reason. They don't want to, they pay their select guys, right? That they know they're not going to have to overpay. And so for me, when Higbee's back, I think that may drop Parkinson a little bit, but I think Parkinson's going to be in for a good season. So for me, if you have any of your 2 tight end leagues, go out and get Parkinson. Right now he's trading for around a 25 third. To me, I have no problem sending a 25 third for Parkinson. One that I thought was interesting here was Luke Musgrave for Parkinson and a 25 third.
Yeah. I think I'm still going to stay with Musgrave there. Just give me, slightly younger guy. Uh, Probably in an equally as potent offense, there in Green Bay. But, Musgrave does have his health concerns that, seem to still have plagued him
Yeah.
into his pro career. So we'll see. And he does have Tucker Kraft on the other side as a tight end that, has also shown out in that Green Bay offense. So it's, we still don't really totally know if it's going to be Kraft or Musgrave. It could really be either one of these guys. There was a point in time where I believe Hayden Hurst was drafted before Mark Andrews for the Ravens, either in back-to-back years or the same year. And we all know how that story has played out so far. So
yeah, I don't know if this could be my fandom or not, but I'm okay moving Musgrave for that. Like, I think I have a really hard time like figuring out if it's going to be Kraft or Musgrave. And when Kraft is on the field, they're very good. He's very good. And so, I think it's going to be tough figuring out who's going to be the tight end that's going to get, the touchdowns, right? For me, with the tight end, outside of the top guys, like I talked about earlier, is like we really want guys that we know are going to probably get touchdowns. They're going to be in the red zone. And so I have a hard time figuring out who that's going to be. And I do think Parkinson will be used a lot in the red zone. So I have no problem, moving Musgrave for Parkinson in the third. And then last one here was Parkinson for Conklin straight up. I like the Conk Daddy, but this one was a little tougher for me because I like the Conk Daddy. I think he's going to have a good season. There's nobody else there in for tight ends in New York, and Aaron Rodgers uses the tight end quite a bit.
That's what makes me lean Tyler Conklin is Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and then just Mike Williams, who probably won't play half the season, Malachi Corley, and Alan Lazard. I think the Conk Daddy could have a really good season, and he has had a really good season at one point in time.
Yeah, agreed. That's where I'm at too. Like Parkinson's probably the fifth option, right? And Conklin's probably the third option. So right there, I'm kind of leaning towards Conklin. And so with Musgrave though, like where I'm like leaning away with Parkinson is just Musgrave could be the fifth, sixth option there because they have good wide receivers. They have Josh Jacobs. Marshawn Lloyd, I think, will be used once he's fully healthy. So I just think there it's easier to go with Parkinson than it is this Musgrave there. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of options in Green Bay, that's for sure. Hard to nail down that target volume, that's for sure. You want to step into these fantasy MVPs?
I had one more start this week.
Oh, you do?
Yes, sir. Javonte Williams. He's been on the rise ever since we had the rumor of him being cut, right? I thought that was pretty crazy. Part of me was like, oh, maybe it could happen. Just because we know Sean Payton's crazy, right? We never know what he's going to do. But actually, Perine got cut. And so to me, this is a two-headed backfield. I'm leaning towards Javonte. I know Jaleel is good. But to me, I think Javonte is the better running back. I do think like this week with Bo Nix, this is his first ever, regular season start. So I think they're going to lean on their running backs quite a bit, dump the ball off. To me, I love Marvin Mims, but overall their wide receivers are not very good. I like Cortland Sutton, but to me overall the wide receivers aren't very good. So I think they're going to lean on the tight ends the running backs quite a bit. And then if you remember, like Sean Payton's offenses, they go through the running backs. Back in with the New Orleans Saints. So like they go through the running backs, and so I just think Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin are going to be used a bit this week and throughout the season. And then I pulled up some numbers on the Seahawks. They gave up a 19% target share to running backs, which I think this Seahawks defense is going to be quite a bit different than last year because that their head coach is a defensive guy. So it should be quite a bit different. But for me, Javonte's further from his injury. I just think this week he's going to be firmly a nice running back too. I think there's some other matchups that, kind of drop some other guys. And I think Javonte should be a really good play this week. And I actually think he's a nice buy right now for the whole season. Right. And so
Mm-hmm.
I went through some trades here. This first one I liked because it's Alvin Kamara and Javonte Williams for Kyren Williams and Calvin Austin. So for me, it's basically 2 running backs for Kyren Williams. So that was an easy one for me. Javonte Williams for Christian Watson and a 25 third. Where are you on that one?
That's actually my trade, isn't it?
Could be.
So
Yeah, I don't.
no, I did that trade.
You did? Okay,
That's
cool.
mine. Yeah,
it sounded like it. It looked familiar.
I traded Javonte for Christian Watson. I'm not winning anything this year. My flex spots were pretty weak. Started some guys pretty far down the depth chart, and I could lean either way with this one. It's kind of, I wanted to lean into wide receiver. You know, we get that longevity for, you know, your roster. I know Christian Watson isn't actually a picture of health, but he seems to have the hamstrings figured out for the moment. And that's why, you know, I did that one. It's definitely a rebuild team for sure.
And I liked it for both sides. I lean Javonte Williams. I just think I've talked about it before. I'm not a big Christian Watson guy. So, but if I'm rebuilding and I don't like, and I think I can move Christian Watson later in the season when maybe he has a couple good games, sure. I'm definitely going to do that. But I like Javonte Williams this year a lot. This one not so much though, because again, I don't like sending firsts for running back. So this was Javonte Williams for a 25 third and a 26 first.
Yeah,
especially, well, that's 26, right? So it depends, but like each year new running backs are coming in, you know, and so I just have a hard time moving firsts for running backs.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me, because especially trying to project out your 26 first, let alone projecting your 25 first. Things can go south in a hurry for teams. I don't know. Hopefully this person that sent their 26 first has a strong young core of players. And it's not like Javonte, you know, is old or anything. So you still have a young-ish running back, you know, on that roster for your team. Hopefully, you know, he's more like your running back 3, maybe even 4 when you send that 26 first.
Yep, totally. And the last one here was Javonte Williams for DeAndre Swift.
I'll take Javonte. I've lived the DeAndre Swift experience.
Yeah. To me, a lot of times that I look at the rankings, DeAndre Swift is higher than Javonte. And so I'm okay, you know, moving. Like if I have some DeAndre Swift after this, I'm going to go and look and see if I can move some for Javonte. You know, and if you get any kind of plus with Javonte, that's a total smash. Right. So maybe you can find some DeAndre Swift truthers. You know, and I just have a hard time, you know, figuring how he's going to, you know, be in the Chicago offense. I think they're going to throw the ball a ton. And then I think Caleb is very good with his legs. So I do think he's going to run the ball a little bit. So, you know, I have a hard time with DeAndre Swift. So.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So, yeah, I mean, all these guys that I had for my week 1 must starts is I think right now they're all good buys. You know, Parkinson is a very cheap. And then Stafford was a little bit all over the place. And so, like I said before, I think the Rams offense should be really, really good this year for fantasy terms. So I think all those guys, and if you need a QB3 or you need a QB2 to shore up your team, go out and get Stafford.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agree there. Are you ready for the fantasy MVPs?
Let's do it.
All right. I dug really deep for this one and, you know, really picked a strange one. I didn't. It's Lamar Jackson. I think, you know, year 2 in the Todd Monken system, you know, we're going to have some growth from Lamar within that system. He says he's also lost some weight. He feels, you know, a little bit faster than what he was playing at last year. I expect Zay Flowers to take a step forward in year 2. Mark Andrews is back on the field. And the addition of Derrick Henry into that backfield is just huge. I mean, people are just going to be so afraid of, you know, Henry running them over, and then, you know, Lamar can pull that on an RPO and shoot down the field. I just think Lamar continues his dominance of the fantasy world here, and he'll be the fantasy MVP.
Yep. I felt like, even though this is like kind of a no-brainer, but I felt like this is a good one because I think that Ravens offense should be really good. And Lamar's getting to a point where he's not old or anything like that, but he's getting to a point where he really needs to win a Super Bowl. I do think that whole team is going to be, they have their revenge game tomorrow. So I do think that whole team is going to be pretty darn good this year. And I think if Mark Andrews could stay healthy, that's going to be a big thing for Lamar Jackson. And so, and then year 2 is Zay Flowers, like you said, should be really good. And so we'll see outside of those wide receivers, maybe, Tez Walker could be something, here and there for them. I doubt it, but it's possible. And then maybe Rashad Bateman. I know some people are thinking Rashad Bateman is gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think the biggest thing though is Derrick Henry's there, and so they're not going to know who's going to run the ball, if it's Lamar Jackson or if it's Derrick Henry, and so either way, they're going to have a tough time.
Yeah, definitely agree.
All right, maybe a little bit of too much hype here, watching or looking too much on the X, but mine's Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not trying to rub Ron's back here, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs. I think it's possible that he can fight for the running back 1 this year. I think he's used very much so like Breece and Bijan. To me, the Lions are a better team. They have a better offensive line than the Falcons and the Jets. So for me, I just think if Jahmyr Gibbs can house it almost every time he gets the ball. So if he does that a couple times more than we're used to seeing him, I think he can get to 2,000 all-purpose yards possibly. And if he does that, that's gonna shoot him up for the RB1 for the year. And I think it's easily he's gonna be your running back. Like you're not even your running back 1, but he'll be in the top 5 for all of fantasy if he's able to do that. And so that's why I picked him as my fantasy MVP. If I wasn't able I have 2 redrafts with my family, and so both of them have keepers, so it's really hard to get anybody good unless your keepers are really good. So it's just they're very weird. I'm always in the top 3, which is cool, but it's just tough. When you're drafting people that are very the top guys are usually gone, and so in the first and second round you're grabbing people that are weird, and so I wasn't able to get any Gibbs, but for me he's very, very good in redraft, and then if you have him on your dynasty team, you should be contending, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got Jahmyr in 2 of my 3 redraft leagues. I think it's just wheels up. I think that, the offense is so good, especially running the ball, that there's enough for God bless. I think that there's enough for both Monty and Gibbs in there, especially with the passing work.
So
the hype is just out of this world. And as a Lions fan, this is not a world that I live in very often. So it's almost more frightening at this point in time. I'm excited, but I'm trying to, keep those expectations, keep
totally
your level
in my notes, even for my fantasy MVP, I still think Monty's going to be used quite a bit, right? I think he's going to be a really, really good running back too. And so don't anybody watching don't feel bad. Oh no, is Gibbs going to take away all the work for Monty? No, I think Monty's going to be used in the red zone, but I think a lot of times Gibbs will be able to house it and will have plenty of touchdowns and will have a ton of yards. Maybe his touchdowns are, closer to 6 to 8, but I think the amount of yards he's going to get is going to really help him. And if he is able to jump over that double-digit touchdowns, I think, wheels up. So like I talked about for the Rams offense, I think the Lions offense as well is going to be really good, but their defense is better. So there could be times that, they may not have to throw the ball as much. And so the running backs will be able to benefit that.
Yeah, I think honestly though, I think that Monty is the closer for games over Jahmyr Gibbs. So they get into some games if they're up a couple scores and they're looking to chew some clock, you're going to see Monty on the field out there. But like you said, Gibbs can just house that thing from anywhere on the field. So he only needs a few touches to make it worth it.
Yep. And before we leave, Wes would like us to compare Johnson's. So Juwan Johnson or Theo Johnson. For me, it's I think Juwan Johnson's the safer play, but I think there's a little more upside with Theo Johnson because outside of Malik Neighbors, in the passing offense there's nobody really. There's Wandell. So I feel more comfortable with Juwan Johnson because outside of Olave and Rashid Shaheed, Juwan Johnson's like option number 4. And Derek Carr likes to throw to the tight end. So I feel a little better with Juwan Johnson.
Yeah, definitely. You got anything else for the people?
That's it. We made it. Everybody. Let us know how you like the week 1 must starts. I think we'll get into that quite a bit. We'll figure out what we're going to do for the regular season each week. But let us know what you think about the must starts, and maybe we'll bring it back.
Yes, indeed. And
anything from you?
No, I don't have anything important. I'm just ready for the season. I just want to see this Lions season, dude. I'm just hyped for it.
Yes, sir. For sure. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody.